Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Awesome. Good. How are you?
I'm good, brother.
Awesome. I really do appreciate your time. Thanks for being here.
No, thank you.
So you're a couple fights now into the Bellator lightweight division. What are your biggest takeaways from avoiding that extra 10-pound weight cut?
Um, that's actually great. Um, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of waking up. I last fight I woke up on weight. I didn't even have to sauna. I didn't have to cut. I didn't have to do anything, which is amazing. Um, Usually, I had some struggles in the past making weight, but gratefully that's behind me now.
And you just kind of touched up on it there, but I'm sure it makes like the whole fight week better because you're not just focused on like making the weight, you're focused on the actual fight.
Yeah, like the fight week is it always sucks, because I'm not eating that much, and I prefer to eat a lot. I'm a fat guy at heart, I was a fat boy born in an athlete's body. So uh so fight week's always rough because I'm not eating that much. But yeah, it's I still can focus in on what's going on, what's happening. I just like to see my opponent. I like to see what he looks like and how he looks, how he acts around me. So I'm excited.
So what's your go-to food? Like what's your absolute favorite you gotta have? Whenever you're allowed to just let loose.
After the fight, I can't like after I make weight in that, I still can't go super crazy because I still have to kind of stay healthy. But right after my fight, I always try find the best steakhouse.
Nice.
And I get like every morning. Wake up, I go right to the donut store, go buy some donuts. I'm bad.
Yeah, you ever get one of those big steaks like the tomahawk with like the big ass bone?
Yeah, I
Those are
got
the
one of
best.
those. I got one of those and it had like truffle I don't know, it was like truffle cheese or truffle butter or something on top of it. It was so good. It was a Wagyu tomahawk. It was like the best steak I've ever had. That steak I dream about.
I almost forgot I was supposed to be talking about MMA. I was getting too into the steaks there for a second. But is it fair to say that like you're done with featherweight though? Like let's stick to lightweight at least for the meantime.
I'm think I'm almost done growing, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
you finish growing at like 26, they say. I don't know. I just turned 26, so let's see. Um, I feel like if I can make that division, I'd if I can make that weight, I'll destroy them. But I'm feeling good at 55. There may be no point to go down. If I can win the title here.
And so your last fight, you fought a guy that is really strong physically. How did you feel in there with him now, like really getting tested at that new weight class, just strength wise?
Against Volkov,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like his strength was he. I didn't feel like he was like extremely strong.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like he was very good at using his strength in a way that will prevent you from doing things. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I didn't feel like an overwhelming strength when going with him. Because I've trained with some people that are stupidly strong, and as soon as they grab you, you're like, holy shit. But I didn't feel that with him. I felt like he was more intelligent with control. So he was using his strength in the right places, you know what I mean, to prevent things. But I don't feel a big difference at 155 strength wise. I'm deceivingly strong. Like people whenever they go with me, they always are like, oh wow, I didn't realize that you're as strong as you are. But I've been grappling since I started, so all my strength comes from grappling. I never really lifted or anything like that either. So I feel good at 55.
So once that fight was over, did you think you deserved the unanimous decision win? Were you surprised it was a split?
Um, like I know I won the fight. Like I had me winning pretty much every round. I did the most damage. I controlled him most of the fight. Um, so since it was split, I was kind of like worried a little bit. But never know, just can't leave it to the judges. But I felt like I was punished the entire fight. So if it went the other way, I would have been fucked. I would have been pretty bad. I'd be like, how can you give this guy? He ran away from me, and then when we we're on the ground, I put him in fight-ending positions nonstop. So, I felt like I deserved that win.
So by the time you step back into the cage, it'll be about a year since we last saw you fight. Do you feel like you've evolved since then, or just sharpening your tools, get a little better? What's been the biggest difference over the last couple months?
Um, Over the last couple months, I've changed overall as a fighter immensely. I've been working with my coaches quite a lot, and they've improved my game like tenfold. Like I'm a whole different fighter than I was a year ago. Since I moved to American Top Team, my game in MMA has developed to a point where it's way beyond where I was before I came here. So expect a whole new fighter coming next week.
And I'm sure it's got to be crazy, like having that range of training partners that you can work with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I have everybody's there. A ton of fighters. Like it's a good environment. If you know what I mean, it's I have good coaches. It's every resource at the tip of your at your fingertips.
And so now coming up next, Mansour Barnaoui. What were your thoughts when you got offered this fight?
I thought, damn, this guy's big. How he make weight? Like I struggle, man. What the fuck's this guy doing? I need to get on his diet. Maybe I'll make 50, 45, but he's a tough opponent. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a top 10 guy across all organizations. He's fought some tough guys. Uh, I think yeah, it's going to be a fun fight. It's going to be a
Yeah,
good challenge.
I feel like he kind of got hit with like that MMA bug where fans turn so quickly because it was like when he signed with Bellator, it's like one of the best signings for Bellator. And then right when he lost to Brett Primus, it's like, oh, he's not as good as we think he is, but he really is super
No,
talented.
people forget who Brett Primus is. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
true.
Like if you want to look at who Brett Primus is, he's tough as shit too. He he was the Bellator champ. He's that guy's tough. That guy's no joke. Uh, if you lose to Brett Primus, it's not really. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you should be like obviously you never want to lose, but if you're gonna lose, like at least it's not to a nobody or a bum.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. It's just the way that everybody reacted after that fight. It was like the biggest upset ever. But yeah, I mean, and people forget too sometimes that he's literally a world class grappler, like one of the
Yeah.
best in his division. But, anyways, did you watch that fight? Well, and if you did, what were your thoughts on it?
It's very interesting. I did watch the fight. Brett did a very good job in shutting down his game, shutting down Mansour's game, and I felt like Mansour at some point was kind of just accepting the takedowns um and with a wrestler on top of you, it's very very difficult for you to get your grappling going. Getting your jiu-jitsu going. So, he did he's a real unorthodox grappler. So he does like weird lanky guy, tall guy stuff. So, yeah, I think Brett did a great job of shutting him down.
And so, how do you see this fight playing out against him, and what are you expecting from him?
I'm expecting the same stuff, really, right? If you watch all his fights, he comes out there and he does the same stuff. He does like big flying knees and big front kicks and big overhands and big shots, and he reaches in for the clinch and tries to pummel you like he's in high school. Um, looking for big knees, and he doesn't really shoot that often, but he does shoot. It's kind of weird. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I think I'm gonna beat. I I'm gonna be able to beat all his positionings on the feet, and I don't even think he's gonna be able to clinch me. And if I put him on his back, there's no way his jiu-jitsu stands up against mine.
So with a win against him, where do you think that puts you in the division? Because I feel like you're still establishing yourself in the division, but he's like ranked number 7 or 8. So suddenly you're in the mix.
Yeah, I kind of knew that was gonna happen. As soon as I thought that was gonna happen right away when I first fought that the Russian guy. I can't remember his name. The first Russian guy at 55. Um, I can't even say his name. I'm not even gonna attempt it. But I kind of assumed, I fight him, I'm gonna probably be propelled into the rankings, and that's kind of what happened with him. He beat me, and then they took him over to Japan, and then he won in Japan, and then they propelled him straight into the rankings. So, I kind of expected that. I was a contender at 145. I was meant to fight for the one. I was meant to fight for the number one contender. So, I anticipated the jump right away at 155.
And so what are your thoughts on the champion right now, Usman Nurmagomedov, and how do you match up against him?
Usman is a very tough opponent because he's a little bit different than the rest of the Russians, right? The rest of the Russians are predominantly wrestlers, predominantly grappling, wrestling. They have this weird strength about them, and they have a really good sense of limiting damage and control, right? So they don't. What I mean by limiting damage is they don't really put themselves in situations where they can get hurt. So they can, and then they control, and it's not a very exciting fighting style. It's a very like for fans to watch, but as a martial artist, you can admire it, right? But Usman Nurmagomedov, he doesn't have that style. He has like the good attributes of that style, but then he also has this aggressive young guy, big shots, you know what I mean? Unorthodox striking mixed in with it, which is why I believe that he's one of the better Russian fighters. So I think if I fought him and he got a little too wild, that's kind of where I live. That's where I reside. That's where that's where that's how I learned to fight. I learned to fight in the wild. So if I fought him and he wanted to get wild, I win those exchanges. If he came out and fought like a Russian, then you know what I mean. It would be a boring fight. So, um, uh, I think it would be a great fight, a great matchup if I was to fight him.
And so who wins between him and Brett?
It's interesting. I it's going to be an interesting battle because they're both really good wrestlers. Um, I would say Usman has better striking than Brett Primus, so I think it's going to come. I think it's. I don't know. I think it's actually a tough matchup. I think Usman wins though.
And so last question for me. Finish this line for me. JJ Wilson will be a Bellator world champion by the end of
What's this year? I don't even know the year.
2023.
2024.
2024.
2024. I'm like, shit, what year is it? 2024.
Well, that's all I have for you, man. I really do appreciate all your time, and I hope for the best for you in your next fight and moving forward in your career.
Thank you very much.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.